What's good, folks? It's MC and I'm back for another closed-minded journal. And today, I'm asking you about tattoos. Is it self-expression or is it a fashion statement? Now hold up. I know you're ready to answer right off the bat, but let's dive into it a little more. First, let's define exactly what self-expression is, and then we'll talk about what a fashion statement is. Okay, so self-expression. Self-expression is something that you do, or say, or wear, or your behavior. An unlimited amount of actions, if you will, that you do that basically represent who you are or a part of who you are. You with me so far? A fashion statement. A fashion statement usually referring to something you wear to invoke a reaction. You know, whether it's just a one-time deal or every once in a while or even a very often, as we see entertainers, they oftentimes utilize fashion statements to, you know, get attention on what they're doing. Now, the difference between the two, if you're not grasping where I'm coming from, is basically a fashion statement is not necessarily self-expression. And self-expression doesn't necessarily have to represent itself into a fashion statement. However, self-expression could also be a fashion statement of its time. I know that might sound a little convoluted for no reason, but we'll get into that. Let me give you an example. You see this do-rag that I have on? Let me give you a little story about this do-rag. Basically, I started rocking do-rags, let's say, 2002. Let's just say. Not this particular one, but you know, you get what I'm saying. So, the reason why I started rocking the do-rag was because that was when I first got braids, and they told me, you know, you gotta wear a do-rag in order to keep the braids fresh. That's what they told me. I had never wore a do-rag before. I never even had braids before, you know. But, you know, long story short, I got the do-rag. And that's what I wore it for. Now, what wound up happening was, I took a liking to it. And it's kind of like how, you know, you had your fitted hat people. You know, you got some people who fitted hats are just their thing. That's their thing. Do-rags became my thing. It just so happens that that was during the time when do-rags was this nice big trend that was going on, and you know, they started coming out with all the different designs and all that. Now, for a person who had took a liking to do-rags like I did, you know, it was all good, it was all gravy for me, because it was like, man, I dig these do-rags, and now look at all these different designs. You know, it was a good experience. So I wasn't wearing do-rags because of the trend. However, there were certain do-rags that I might have had that made fashion statements. Now, the reason why I say, and I've always said that I wore a do-rag because of self-expression, was because well after the trend was over, I was still wearing do-rags. Well into criticism. I mean, I done had friends distance themselves from me because of something as simple as a do-rag. I mean, for real. And yet, I still wore it because I wasn't wearing it for popularity. See, if I was wearing something for popularity, I would have long got rid of it. I was wearing it because that's what I dig. That's just me, you know. I dig do-rags. What can I say? I'm a do-rag guy. Shout out to E and J with the do-rag brothers. You know what I mean? So, that's where that whole thing comes about. The do-rag for me is a form of self-expression. Whereas a fashion statement is more so in line with trends. You know, trends come in, trends go out. And sometimes people go way overboard to really make some sort of statement. Now, this statement, it could be for acceptance. You know, it might be a certain type of fashion that's just cool right now. like tight pants. Tight pants is in right now. So tight pants is actually a fashion statement for acceptance. You want to be accepted in your group of peers, if you will, so you wear what they wear. You know what I mean? A fashion statement, a work uniform. A work uniform is actually a fashion statement. It's to be in sync, if you will, with what everybody else at work is wearing. A fashion statement can also be something that's just way over the top. You know, somebody could put on a Halloween costume and go to church. You know, that would make a wild fashion statement. That would be like a more shock appeal type fashion statement to get attention on you. Like I said, entertainers do it all the time. They wear outrageous stuff in order to get that attention, you know, on them for their fashion statement. That's the difference between a fashion statement and actual self-expression. Because somebody could do a fashion statement but not necessarily like what that article of clothing is. You know, they might just put it on strictly for the shock value. They might not really like that stuff. But self-expression is specifically due to the fact that you dig what's going on. Now, I don't want to ramble. I'm gonna cut this up into a couple different pieces because we still haven't quite dug deep enough into this whole tattoo business. So we're gonna pick it right back up on the next segment.